But now to the juicy stuff. I want to give the listeners a little bit of helpful tips and tricks.
Right.
For when they are doing it on their own. Maybe they don't have an entire space,
Yep.
you know, they're just doing some spring cleaning. Where do people start?
So I always say if you're doing it on your own, it is not a sprint, it is a marathon. Like everyone's like, I need to organize my whole entire home. I'm like, this is why you're not getting organized. So start small, whether it's even like your junk drawer. Like start there, and that's going to bring you enough joy that you're like, okay, that looks so good. Now I want to go to the next project. So start small. It is very overwhelming. And I have clients all the time that are like, aren't you overwhelmed? Like that was a lot. No, because that's how my like weird brain works. But for other people that doesn't come naturally to them, I'm like, you don't have to do your whole closet. Do like just your dresser. And then from there, then work on your closet. So yeah, start small. Don't try to do like your whole house in one weekend. That's like unrealistic and you will get burnt out.
That is really good advice. What is the art to color coding? So for me, I have my closet somewhat color coded for the most part.
Okay.
But like, I never know, do I put my red dress with my red shirts, or do I do like sections of shirts that are, you know, pink to black, and then dresses? How do you perfect that?
So again, it is preference, but how I prefer, and I feel like the clients that are like, do it how you would do it. So I do it based on the category. So whether it's like tank top, short sleeve, long sleeve sweaters, sweatshirts would go together, jackets would go together, dresses would go together. And then you color coordinate all of those. So it's never like your closet is just like one light to dark. That would give me a heart attack. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that.
Yeah, I feel like it's counterintuitive. I'm just going to lose things in there because there's way too much to sift through.
Exactly. And my whole thing on color coordinating, and I am very like a neutrals and tans. And so sometimes even like the pattern of the rainbow in my closet, I'm like, it's okay. Like most of your stuff is black and white. It's okay. But it's more so that when you get a new jacket or a new dress, you're like, oh, it's a white dress. It goes right in the front because it goes light to dark. Mm-hmm. So the whole point of it is so that when you bring stuff in or when you have laundry and I leave, you know where things go.
Perfect. And labeling. It's a little bit scary because sometimes things just like, I don't know what category it falls into, right? Yep. Especially those little junk drawers like you mentioned. Right. How do you normally label the little things in people's homes? Yeah, so with labeling, it's preference of how many labels you want. Some people are like, label like my forehead. Like, I don't care. Like, anything needs to be labeled my child, like my child's shoes. And I'm like, okay, we will, like, I'm like, my label maker's my best friend. I will just like stick everything everywhere. I think that there are certain things that need to be labeled so that it's like a bin up top that you can't see what's in it. That should be labeled. A junk drawer is like a junk drawer for a reason. It can be organized, but like not everything in there needs to be labeled. Yeah. So yeah, it kind of depends your preference on things. I don't like also like in like a beautiful mudroom, you don't like have to have that there's like shoes. It's like obviously like it's a see-through bin. so no need to micromanage it down to every single individual item.
Right. Sometimes and I think that like puts a lot of pressure on like, oh my God, don't let it get out of there. It's like, it's okay. It's in your mudroom. Like we can always come back and edit. You can always edit every season. But I do love my label maker. It's probably my favorite thing I own.
That is amazing. From watching the home edit, I think that's one of the things that they say too is if you overcomplicate it, people aren't going to stick with it.
Exactly.
So if I have to go into the one drawer and then find the compartment that includes the 4 different types of little tiny things, it's too much.
It's too much.
You can't keep up.
Nope.
Okay.
Keep it
simple.
simple.
I love that. How do you manage your seasonal items?
So that also depends on the space. Living in the city myself and many clients that we have in the city, I always say to seasonalize your closet, like take your Christmas ornaments out, get a storage unit in your building or out of your building. It's just not practical to keep all of that stuff in your space. And that's when people are like, well, I'm so unorganized. It's like, you just need a little bit more space. It's not really your fault. Or you just kind of have to accept that like maybe your Christmas ornaments are like underneath your jackets. Like you kind of just Like some people are like, how do I get that exact closet? I'm like, well, you would need to move. Like you have like a very tiny closet and that's like a huge walk-in closet. So a lot of this stuff is like working with the space that you have. And we work with Container Store and build out closets all the time. So there's many times that it's like a funky closet or like underneath this, and like we can build something out that is functional. So I think that that's helpful for people so that we can kind of put in a good simple system for them to maintain.
Yeah, that's really great. And so if all else fails and I have these tips in my back pocket, but it's still not coming together the way that I would like it to, like what really makes a good candidate for a client, for somebody to reach out and look for your assistance?
So I feel like a lot of the city ones are lack of space. Like they're like, I feel like I'm just not utilizing this space. And because I'm in the city, I'm like, I can help you. I can duplicate what I am living in right now. And then other people, like recently we've had a lot of people that have like moved out of houses because of COVID, or they've like inherited a lot of stuff from their families or grandparents. And so that is like a very overwhelming project for someone, that they're just looking at this mass amount of stuff. And that's when it would be a good idea to bring someone in, and we'll like make that an underwhelming process. And you don't have to be so stressed about like all these boxes. We'll go one box at a time. And that is why nannying was great, because my patience is top of the line. I'm like, it's fine. They're like, aren't you stressed? I'm like, no. I've gotten cars thrown at my head. Like, I can open this bin.
Okay, so backup plans are going back to nannying, and then also sales, because I feel like you could pitch anything. You could sell ice to an Eskimo.
I love it.
I love it. Okay, awesome. So, overall, key takeaways. What would be your biggest piece of advice for somebody who is starting their own business? Number one.
So I would say just start. I think that was the hardest thing for myself, not knowing exactly how to start a business. I was scared to do that, but I look at where I was 3 years ago and I'm like, I tell my friends, I'm like, I'm a fraud. I'm like, how did I get here to have a successful business that now just opened a branch in Nantucket? It's like an eye-opening experience. And it's just because I started. And every day I did something, and every month I did something, and you set goals for yourself so that at the end of this year, I want to be here. And for me, it was like, before I'm 30, I want to open a branch in Nantucket, and we're here.
Check. Check. Which I want to ask you about before we start to wrap up. But the other thing would be biggest piece of advice for maintaining the space. We've talked a lot about getting there, the process, how to do it. But now you have come and gone. They're on their own.
Yep.
What do we do?
Well, our main line is we implement systems that are easy to maintain.
Yes. I thought you were going to like, our main line is 555-92. Call me again. I'll be right over.
Or that. So we really, when we leave someone's house, we don't leave it expecting them to call us back and be like, everything's ruined. Like we do. We implement systems that you can maintain. Like everything is labeled. It'd be very hard not to put your pasta in the bin that's labeled pasta. So yeah, it's like follow our rules.
They get to risotto and they're like, okay, wait, is this rice or is this pasta?
Oh, I'm always like, if you're having problems, call me. If you don't know where something is, call me. I know where every single thing in your house is by this point.
Wow. How do you keep it all memorized?
I don't know. This is why I don't go out.
Yeah, true.
Because I'm in my bed literally like, okay, Amy's is here and there's there.
She just studies. Yeah. Okay, so finally, tell me a little bit about Nantucket and what that looks like and sort of how that opens another door of opportunities for Heart & Co.
Yeah, so being born there and growing up there during the summers, I always knew that was somewhere that I wanted to go. I feel like all of our connections are out there, and I know a bunch of people in real estate, and they were like, there are no organizers or established organizers out here right now. And I was like, okay, we're fully booked in Boston until the end of July. I'm going to come out there. So I was just like, let's just do it. And every time we go out there, we learn something new. So like we have a wagon now that we bring our products in, and I'm like, this is freaking genius. So like, yes, I'm like going on the ferry with my wagon, but like that makes my process so much easier. So it truly is something. We shop ahead of time. I go over there. We either do FaceTime consultations or like we're going on Thursday. So I'll go for the whole day and fit a bunch of consultations in, and then we'll shop ahead of time and we lug it in over on our wagon and same process as Boston. We go through all of your stuff. It's nice over there because a lot of them are summer houses. And so it's not like mass amount of stuff. It's like really setting them up for success to make their summer run smoothly, which I love. And it's just like, so I love being over there. It's like my home. So,
and as much as a relief to people here in the city, I mean, being over there, they're, I mean, the expression like on an island, I mean, they truly are. Truly. And they don't have access to just running. I don't think there's a Container Store out on.
There's not even actually one like close to the Cape. So I'm like, this is like such a luxury service. I'm like, I would hire someone to do this.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, that is like a whole part of it, is that I was like, I don't want my Nantucket houses that are like some of the most beautiful homes in America to not be organized. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I need to get over there. So it is definitely, the summer is like a trial and error of what works and what doesn't. And it's been going great. We have already a great clientele over there, and yeah, I'm like, where do I want to go next?
I'm so happy for you. I can't wait to check back in at 35.
Yeah.
You'll be on Mars by then.
I'm like, hey, I'm 2 days into being 30. Don't age me yet.